வெல்கம் டு தமிழ் டூரிஸ்ட் சேனல். இன்றைக்கி நம்ம கோவ் பாயிண்ட் லைட் ஹவுஸ்ன்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு இடத்துக்கு போயிட்டுருக்கோம். ஸோ இது வந்து யூஎஸில் மெரிலாண்டுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு ஸ்டேட்டில் இருக்குது. ஸோ இது வந்து கேல்வர்ட் கவுண்டின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ அந்த கேல்வர்ட் கவுண்டியோட சதர்ன் மோஸ்ட் பாயிண்டில் தான் இந்த லைட் ஹவுஸ் இருக்குது. ஸோ இதோட ட்ரைவ் வந்து டவுன் டவுன்லேருந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 1.5 hours ஆகும். 65 miles இருக்குது. ஸோ இதோட ரோடு வந்து இந்த லைட் ஹவுஸோட எண்ட் ஆகிடும். அதுக்கப்புறம் ஃபுல்லாகவே வெறும் சீஷோர் மட்டும்தான் இருக்கும். ஸோ இங்கே வந்து பப்ளிக்கு வெறும் 3 நாள் மட்டும்தான் வந்து விசிட் பண்ண அலோவ் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஸோ இங்கேயும் ஸ்டே பண்ணலாம் வேணும்னா. யூஸ்வலி இது கொஞ்சம் எக்ஸ்பென்சிவ். அதோடு வந்து இந்த புக்கிங் வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட 1 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடியே புக் ஆகிடும். சம்மரில் மட்டும்தான் ஓப்பன் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஸோ முன்னாடியே வந்து புக் பண்ணணும் இந்த இடத்துல ஸ்டே பண்ணோன்னா. ஸோ இந்த லைட் ஹவுஸ் வந்து 1828 வந்து பில்ட் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. ஸோ இது இன்னும் ஆக்டிவாக இருக்குது. ஸோ வந்து யூஸ்வலி இந்த ஷிப் இந்த சைடு வர ஷிப்புக்கு எல்லாத்துக்குமே டைரெக்ஷன் காமிக்கிறதுக்கு இந்த லைட் ஹவுஸ் வந்து இன்னும் இங்கே இருக்குது. வாங்க நம்ம போய் பார்க்கலாம் எப்படி இருக்குன்னு.
Cove Point Lighthouse was built in 1828, an era when most ships were powered by sail, and a magnetic compass was their only means of navigation. It is Maryland's oldest continuously operating lighthouse and is located on one of the narrowest parts of the Chesapeake Bay. Worcester County on Maryland's eastern shore is only 7 miles away. The lighthouse still serves as a landmark and guide to mariners navigating their way up and down the Chesapeake. Just over 4 acres of land was purchased in 1828 for $308. This included a separate garden plot so keepers could grow their own vegetables for food. The light station was built by John Donahue of Havre de Grace, Maryland, a prolific builder who constructed 12 of the first 17 lighthouses in Maryland. The light station was built for $5,685 and included a 40-foot-high brick tower with circular stairs leading to a lantern room where the light was kept. The original keeper's house was a small 1.5-story brick building with an attached kitchen wing and a cistern in the back to collect rainwater. The light originally consisted of a system of lamps and reflectors mounted on a stationary framework to produce a steady white beam. It was replaced by a more effective Fresnel lens in 1855, which consisted of a series of curved glass prisms that concentrated the light into one plane. While oil was used to first light the lamp, years later, in 1928, the light was electrified, and at the same time, the current Fresnel lens was installed. The lens rotates continuously, producing a white flash every 10 seconds. Prior to electricity, the lens was rotated by hand using a clockwork mechanism that had to be wound every 7 hours. A fog signal was first introduced in 1837 to guide mariners during periods of poor visibility. It was located in a separate tower and was also wound by hand. In 1901, the present small wooden building was constructed to house a new fog signal powered by compressed air. It gave off an 8-second blast every 7 seconds. The bell was relocated to the roof as a backup, where it still sits today. The bell house, as it is known today, was replaced in turn by the nearby brick building erected in 1950. The signal remained in the brick building until discontinued by the Coast Guard in 2002. Another navigational aid of a different sort was introduced in 1928, a radio beacon system. This system transmitted a distinctive radio signal that a navigator on a ship could identify and determine its bearing using a radio direction finder. By taking a bearing from another station, it was possible to plot one's position with some accuracy. The transmitter was installed in the Fog Bell building and later moved to the brick building in 1950. The system was discontinued in 1984. Cove Point Lighthouse had another unique function for over 50 years, that of a vessel reporting station. Starting in 1899, keepers were required to report ship movements in daytime to the Baltimore Chamber of Commerce. This provided advance warning of pending ship arrivals. A large brass telescope was used to read the names of passing ships, and a telephone was installed in the keeper's house to relay reports. This was the first ever telephone to be used in Calvert County. In addition, a large steel skeletal tower was added to the grounds to fly storm warning signals. Vessel reporting was discontinued around 1953 when ship-to-shore radio became common. Only the base of the tower remains today. The keeper's house has also changed over time, evolving from the original 1.5 stories to 2 stories in 1883, with a front porch added in 1898. The last and most obvious change occurred in 1925 when the building was enlarged to 2.5 stories and converted into a duplex, housing 2 keepers and their families. By tradition, the head keeper lived on the side facing the tower. Other changes in the landscape included the brick building added in 1950 to house the fog signal, emergency generator, and radio transmitter. Today, this building remains under the control of the Coast Guard. A cottage was added at the same time to house a 3rd keeper. The low-lying land on which the station is built has always been at the mercy of wind and tide, and man-made sea defenses were an early feature of the site. In 1892, a wooden bulkhead was built on the east side, later to be replaced by a more substantial concrete seawall in 1913. Large amounts of stone riprap have been added in recent years, but erosion remains a constant threat to the lighthouse. Cove Point was generally considered good duty for lighthouse keepers, as families were allowed to live on the site. That was not the case with most of the offshore lights. From 1828 to 1958, there were 20 civilian keepers plus an unknown number of assistant keepers. These keepers were civil service employees who had started their careers in the old U.S. Lighthouse Service, which was later absorbed by the U.S. Coast Guard. After 1958 and until automation in 1986, all keepers were Coast Guard personnel. Cove Point was one of the last lighthouses on the Chesapeake Bay to be automated. Not long after World War II, the Coast Guard began to dismantle many of its lighthouses as automation took hold and the need for man lighthouses diminished. Cove Point was automated in 1986, but the Coast Guard retained the site as quarters for personnel stationed nearby. However, in 1996, the Coast Guard entered into negotiations with Calvert County government to transfer ownership. 4 years later, in October 2000, a formal handover took place, and Calvert County became the proud owners of this historic site, with the exception of the brick building housing the radio station and generator. On hand to witness the event were a number of former children of past keepers. The Calvert Marine Museum manages the lighthouse on behalf of the county in partnership with the Coast Guard, which continues to maintain the light and radio station. The Coast Guard Auxiliary keeps a radio watch in the summer months, monitoring the airwaves for marine distress calls. Sailing vessels have been replaced by the modern LNG tanker, but the flashing light still maintains its ceaseless vigil, guiding mariners safely past the shores of Calvert County as it has done for over 175 years.